Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, hello. Welcome to our number 2 of the Line Talk 99.5 and Talk995.com. Yeah. Man, I got a ton of text messages here. And half of them are political text messages. Come on, y'all. I guess we're done with it after today. Well, I mean, we still got the general election, but maybe these political text messages are going to chill out after today. Y'all get out there and vote, man. I'm going to tell you who I'm voting for in the Senate race. Maybe I'll tell you at 1 o'clock. Maybe I'll tell you at 12. I'll tell you at some point when I feel like telling you. Unless y'all want me to tell you now. I can tell you now. I do want to update because I got tipped off that on the Talk 99.5 Twitter account. Is it the Twitter account? Yeah. There's a TMZ, and then this is the Jelly Roll thing. I'm ending the Jelly Roll thing with this. There's an article on TMZ that explains, and I'm just going to read this to you so I don't get it wrong, because this is the first time I've seen details to this extent. Jelly Roll filed for divorce from his wife in May in Tennessee. The divorce was a mutual decision by the two and a private family matter. Jelly Roll met Bunny in 2015 before he hit it big. But things didn't turn romantic until the following year. A couple walked down the aisle in 2016. Bunny, who was previously a sex worker, decided to quit the industry in 2023, years after their marriage. Okay, so John Bird, just to clarify here, Bunny was a sex worker up until 2023.
When did they get married?
2016. So she was hooking, and listen, maybe it was just because Jelly Roll was a big guy and it was hard to, do the nasty, and he's like, hey, just go out and keep on hooking, and then but I would think at some point you'd be like, listen, we got enough money, you don't have to get out there and be hooking.
I know.
And plus, what's the price on that? Because it's like it's one thing to get a hooker off the corner. It's another one to be on Craigslist and be like, oh, there's an ad for Jelly Roll's wife.
And you know what? That may have been the case. They may have used that as a means to get more money. I don't know.
And then it says, on top of the drama, 1 week before the wedding, Jelly Roll welcomed a son with another woman.
What the?
Listen, it's, Jelly Roll is not shy about having a bunch of baggage,
Right, but the baggage seems to continue. At some point, you have to repent and turn away,
The couple has had a rocky relationship. Bunny has been open about the ups and downs, revealing they split multiple times in the past. So that's the details from that TMZ article. But those were the details that we didn't understand, that people in the text line were saying, this, that, and the other, and I hadn't seen any of that. But TMZ is reporting all of that, which I assume is stuff that people, that was already out there.
Yeah, TMZ.
It's crazy. I'm going to put some stuff together for J.D. Vance on The View here in a few minutes.
Oh, sweet.
But first, let's go to the UFC reaction. We talked a lot about it yesterday, so I'm not going to drone on about it today. But it was the best event ever held at the White House. I mean, outside of ceremonies and just like general entertainment event. Best one ever, right? Dana White actually says that he and Trump are planning a UFC fight on a military base for the troops sometime in the future.
Now that's cool.
That is dope. That's dope. Because WWE used to do that. They used to go overseas back during the Middle East War. Back in the early, I guess it was the early 2000s. They would go overseas to these bases in the Middle East and do shows, like on, out in the desert. It was pretty wild, and it was so patriotic back then too. Now, when the WWE goes to the Middle East, it's because they've been paid a bunch of money by the Saudis to hold big events over there. It's kind of sad, but it's whatever. It's all about the money. So he says he's going to do, they're going to try to do a fight on a military base for the troops. He was asked if he'll do another White House UFC fight, and he said, no effing way. Which tells me that pulling that off was an absolute nightmare for him. Like, you can imagine all the mechanics that went into that and probably sleepless nights that he had in the lead up to that. So, it's crazy. Crazy. And then we find out this morning that the FBI had foiled an alleged terror plot that targeted the UFC event at the White House. Now, the details of this are crazy, by the way. I want you to listen. So, 5 suspects are now in custody after authorities say they planned a coordinated attack involving explosive-filled drones aimed at buildings near the venue. Then they allege the plot was designed to trigger panic among attendees and funnel fleeing crowds towards a sniper team that was going to carry out more additional attacks. Think about that. Now, I don't know the details on these individuals. I mean, I've got some names, but at the end of the day, I think these people plotting this terror attack really underestimate UFC fans because they are wild individuals. I mean, they are wild. And I don't know that. Plus, you had a lot of members of the military there as well. Not that anybody was armed. They weren't allowing people to bring their firearms on the White House lawn. But, that's a crazy bunch.
I hope they find out who they're affiliated with.
It says also, as far as the motive, organizers of the terror plot against Trump at UFC Freedom 250 were aiming to overthrow Trump based on deep involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. So essentially, the Democrats keep parroting this lie, knowing it'll encourage crazies to kill Trump. Per the FBI, they said the organizer indicated he believes the U.S. government is run by an elite group of individuals who sacrifice and consume infants, who also were deeply involved with Jeffrey Epstein and now protected by President Trump. Multiple suspects have been arrested so far, including Tyson Proper in Ohio, as well as Brian Omar Roa and Michael Allen Thomas in California. They've been charged with conspiracy to commit murder. It seems like the 5 that they've arrested were from multiple states, including California, Nebraska, I think Missouri.
See, that's organized.
Yeah, these people from all over Ohio. Like there was individuals that were scattered all over the place, and props to the FBI for sniffing that out because that could have been really bad. But they had a very organized plan to try and kill as many people as possible. And so we'll get the details about who these individuals are in the coming days. But I do want to get to the reaction of individuals with the UFC event, which we will do coming up. 205-545-9950. All that and more coming up next. So up first on the reactions is this liberal historian who was on with Jim Acosta on Jim Acosta's little podcast, which can I point this out real quick? So remember that Trump put his name on the Kennedy Center, right? As the Donald J. Trump Kennedy Center or whatever it was. And then, of course, some leftist group filed a lawsuit, even though the Kennedy Center board voted to put Donald Trump's name on there because of the renovations that were happening. They were wanting to give Trump credit for that. Leftist groups filed the lawsuit, and once the judge ruled, which of course liberal judges, they're like, well, we ruled, can't have his name up there. All of a sudden, they on like late Friday night show up and start pulling it down in front of a giant crowd of people and members of the press who just organically showed up there. You can't get the government to do anything past like 3 p.m., especially on a Friday. But for some reason, that one day, they were able to, after hours, get out there and rip Donald Trump's name off. And it was a whole big process. So they were out there until 3 a.m. until they got to the point of pulling off the Donald Trump's name from the building. They worked till 3 a.m. The government doesn't do anything at 3 a.m., okay? But they did just so they could get Donald Trump's name off of it. And the way that ties to Jim Acosta is he was out there reporting, and he's like, this is the stuff of dictators and authoritarians. This is much like the Berlin Wall coming down. I am Jim Acosta's like, the Berlin Wall's coming down. Because they're taking Trump's name off a building that's been there. It's only been there for like 3 or 4 months. Like the Berlin Wall. Anyway, so he's hosting this liberal historian that's talking about the UFC fights, and you'll be amazed at what she ties the UFC fights to.
What you are watching Trump do right now is deliberately tear that apart. And he is doing so on the same cultural argument, of course, that people used to back the first Gilded Age. That is, these culture wars that turn white Americans against marginalized people of color.
Right.
That's the bottom line there. So, I mean, it's not really a stretch to say that the same impulse that created the UFC fight on the White House lawn is the impulse that really pushed lynching in the late 19th century.
Oh, lynching.
What the hell? What?
It's the same as lynching. The UFC fights is the same as lynching. It's crazy. You got to give them an A for effort on creativity, because to be able to tie individuals from all over the world of all different backgrounds and colors beating the crap out of each other voluntarily for large amounts of money, to compare that to lynching, pretty creative. You really got to stretch that one out. And then there's Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel, who took to his very low-rated show last night to discuss his views on UFC Freedom 250.
Lawn of the White House. UFC Freedom 250 had all the refinement and prestige as a Hooters at the Vatican. They used every room of the White House for this event. They had fighters warming up in the diplomatic reception room. They had a guy in the cabinet room. They had fighters in the Roosevelt room. They had a guy in the Oval Office alongside Trump's wacko wall of fame that he put up. And finally, they had an event right out there on the Truman balcony where, listen to this very closely here, because you're going to hear a sound that had not been uttered before. What a night, like a mini January 6th. And I do want to say this. No one should be wearing shorts at the White House.
Oh, really? Nobody should be wearing shorts at the White House? Now, if you're a trans person and you've got a set of fake tatas and you want to flash them on the White House lawn, that's okay, because you're trans. But wearing shorts? No, don't do that. I'd never be invited to the White House. I always wear shorts. I wear shorts as a fashion statement. I will now wear shorts for the rest of my life as a middle finger to Jimmy Kimmel, as a matter of fact.
I like that.
From now until forever. From now until forever. So that's the reaction that you got. And really one more surprising reaction came from one Lindsey Graham. member of Congress, sitting United States Senator. He took to, he was approached by TMZ. TMZ's got a brand new, like, D.C. district correspondence that they send to Capitol Hill to question people, which I don't know that they've got their own reporters. I think TMZ basically just buys videos from people, don't they? Like, people on the street just.
Yeah, that's the way they used to do it. I don't know if they still do it.
They just get random people go up and try to talk to famous people. Lindsey Graham was not asked just about the UFC event itself, but he was asked about the comment by Hockett about Michelle Obama being a man. And Lindsey Graham said this.
Hey, Senator Jacob with TMZ. I just want to get your reaction to the UFC fighter last night who called Michelle Obama a man. I saw that you were at the event.
Not good.
Not good.
No, it took away from the event. It was a fun event. It was to celebrate America's founding and who we are as a nation. You know, it was sort of the modern day gladiators fighting hard and shaking each other's hand and the spirit of sports.
Mm-hmm.
That was not the spirit of sports.
Mm-hmm. So you were there. We saw you entering. What was your reaction when you heard
The guy was an idiot.
And when people were around you, what was kind of their reaction to something similar?
Fell on like groans more than anything else.
Okay. Lindsey Graham think, I didn't like it. It took away from me being able to watch scantily clad, sweaty men fighting each other, wrestling around on the ground, which is my favorite. That's the whole reason I went. Dude, here's the problem. None of these people have ever watched UFC. It's obvious, because if you've ever watched UFC, you are not shocked by Josh Hockett saying Michelle Obama's a man. Like, they say crazy stuff like that. And that's the problem with an event like this, is you get a bunch of new eyeballs and everybody's like, oh, with the pearl clutching and everything else. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this is going on. Well, thank God you don't watch every UFC pay-per-view, because you'd have a stroke with some of the stuff that they say. But it's why we watch it. It's why we love UFC. It's because you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, 205-545-9950. That'll get you in. 545-9950. Noto Roofing. Bringing you this part of the show, NOTOroofing.com, NOTOroofing.com. Get with them, man. Free roof inspection, complimentary roof tune-up, and all the things that you need right there. If you haven't had your roof inspected in a while, now's the time to do it. You hear me talk about it all the time, so instead of just listening to me, get out there and do it, cuzzy. Get it done. 205-848-2299. NOTOroofing.com. Make sure you tell them you're part of the Hey Now Nation. That's going to help them take care of you even better. Back after this. They're releasing images from the foiled UFC attack plot. The U.S. District Court in the Central District of California, which I guess is where they arrested one of the guys, or maybe it was two of the guys. But all we have is a picture of the firearm, and the screen's kind of small, so I can't tell what gun that actually is. But they have also are showing messages, which also, again, I can't read. It's too small. That look like it's maybe in a Discord thread or something of the sort, where they legit planned on killing a bunch of people at the UFC event. So props to the FBI for foiling this plot and hemming these guys up before the event ever happened, because they could have turned what was such an amazing event into such a disaster. You know, it could have been so bad. Now, even if they were to have, commenced this attack, there was so much security around the White House that they could have possibly foiled the attack in real time as well. I don't know that these individuals are necessarily the brightest of the bunch, but who knows? And who knows that this is, whether or not this is just a handful of, 5 or 6 guys that were planning this. This could have been, pushed and even funded by a larger group that was looking to take down the president and high-ranking cabinet officials. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going through reactions to, I did go through reactions to the UFC stuff, so I just wanted to put that out there. Lindsey Graham was my favorite. I think it was bad for the sport. Lindsey Graham does not watch UFC, by the way. None of these people that were appalled by that watch. I thought it was great. Everyone was like, it's disrespectful, blah, blah, blah. It's just like I said yesterday. With what the Obamas have done to Trump, and Trump, it's not like Trump's the one that said it. Even though they're kind of blaming Trump for it, it's like, dude, the guy said what he said, okay? You don't like it? Demand he's banned from the White House. He's not going to care. He got his time in the spotlight. He got his epic sound clip. He's always going to be known as the guy that on the grandest stage of them all was able to call Michelle Obama a man, which is what we've all been thinking for so long. And it's done. So, whatever. I do want to talk about Iran for a minute. When we get in the 12 o'clock hour, I think I'll bring you some of the J.D. Vance stuff on The View earlier this morning. The Iran deal is put together, and there's been a memo signed, I guess digitally signed, which is kind of an agreement to agree. It's like you're signing a piece of paperwork that's pledging to sign another piece of paperwork. Does that make sense? Like you're agreeing to agree to the deal. And so in Switzerland on Friday is when the actual signing will go down. And the speculation and reporting as to what's in the deal has been wide-ranging and very misinformed. The media hopped on the back of former President Barry Soetoro and said that when Barack Obama said that this is going to be the same thing as the JCPOA, his Iran nuclear deal is not going to be any different. Immediately, the media jumped on it, and they're like, yeah, you know what? Obama's probably right. It's not going to be any different, and it's going to be a bad deal, and blah, blah, blah. It's funny because they're going to say that it's the same as Obama's deal, but then they're going to have this urge within them to say it's a bad deal, which would then have them inadvertently admit that Obama's deal was a bad deal. But they won't catch that, at least not until it's too late. But the other misreporting is that there's going to be a bunch of money from the American taxpayers going to Iran to help rebuild Iran. So what Donald Trump said this morning, remember he's in France at the G7. He said this morning that he is going to hold a press conference and personally read every word of the Iran deal to force the fake news into covering it accurately. He said, I will actually not only release it, I'll probably have a press conference and read it to you word by word so that the press covers it accurately because it's a very important document. And unlike Obama, who could have destroyed the Middle East with a horrible JCPOA, it is the worst agreement. So he says, I'll read it to you. And a lot of the reporting as far as like what it is that news outlets are reporting on as far as what's in the deal, they're getting their information from Iran. That's right. Iran is like, yeah, this is what's in the deal. And the media is like, oh my gosh, that's really bad. Let me report on that. And they've been doing that all along throughout this entire conflict. They've been taking Iran's word at what the truth is as to what's happening over there. And they've ended up with egg on their face every single time. Let me get Tom, Pan City. Tom, what's up?
Man, them doofballs trying to plot that on the fight. Are they crazy and deranged or what?
They are obviously crazy, and they're lucky they didn't get killed themselves.
Exactly, and they're count their blessings. And this thing with the woman being thrown over the mountain, man, can you imagine the PTSD those guys are going to have to go through now?
Mm-hmm.
And the counseling they're going to need with their mindset. Man, if they have remorse, good night. I wouldn't want to be them at all.
Yeah, well, they're
right
being
now.
charged, so they're going to have to get counseling in jail, apparently.
Yeah. Surely it's probably an accidental murder or something like that or whatever.
I think it was an accident on their part just because of their reaction. And it, like, as soon as they threw her off, they weren't even watching her fall. They were looking at the platform to make sure, like the rope didn't get wrapped around their leg. But then they noticed the rope wasn't moving, and so they looked back down, and they were like, "Oh my God!"
Could you? I couldn't fathom, man. I just couldn't. And as far as the View, are they deranged and crazy for having J.D. Vance? You know he was going to chew them up, spit them out, man. I mean, good grief, they are goofballs, you know?
Oh, yeah. They're a bunch of
they just want clickbait right now. Y'all are stupid as crap. Put J.D. Vance on there. He's going to chew y'all up, spit you out.
Yeah, what I've seen so far did not bode well for the View. Like, he was very eloquent and to the point, and he was interrupted countless times, but he handled it perfectly.
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, brother. Later, Cuzzy.
See you, Close.
Put. Later.
Dude, when Tom from Pell City gets his mindset on something to go do, he's locked in.
Yes, he is.
I brought up putt-putt, and he wants to go putt-putt with us. Trucker Bobby says, you keep saying JCPOA. Can you tell us what that stands for? The JCPOA stands for the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, I think is what the Obama team called it. Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Let me look that up because I don't want to tell y'all wrong. What does the JCPOA stand for? Yeah, the JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, commonly known as the Iran nuclear deal. That's Obama's Iran nuclear deal. It's a 2015 diplomatic agreement between Iran and the P5+1, which was the U.S., UK, France, Russia, China, plus Germany, and the EU. It allegedly restricted Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sweeping economic sanctions, relief, and about $1.7 billion in cash money. Yeah, that's what it was about. gave him a lot of money. Anyway, I say all that to say this. When it comes to the current Iran nuclear deal, this is going to be extremely strict, extremely thorough, and not some, Obama was looking to pander. You heard me read off the UK, the EU, Germany and Russia and everybody else. The fact that Obama was in with the rest of those countries on putting together a deal tells you that it's probably not the best of deals. Like, that was your first red flag. But second of all, Obama had this mindset, this governing style, if you will, of America being a bad guy and looking to level the playing field across the globe and pushing America back instead of being America first and making sure we were at the top of the heap and stayed at the top of the heap. He wanted everybody to be even. And so he would allow other people to break in line and get these advantages, which ultimately screwed people like yourself and middle-class America. But with the current deal that they're going to be signing on Friday, the misreporting has been atrocious. And to watch some people who think they know what they're talking about comment on this, especially Republicans like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's an absolute doofus. The left has never, the Democrats never really get anything right, like ever. They don't get things right. But I will say, if they've been right as of late over the past few years about anything at all, it is the fact that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a kook. They saw it before we did. Now, granted, they think she's great now, but she's definitely a kook. Listen to what she says on her social media. She's so uninformed. She has no idea what she's talking about, yet she has the audacity to get on the internet with all of her followers and say this.
So I'm reading today that in the U.S.-Iran proposed peace deal that is supposedly going to be signed later this week, this is after we've been told at least 38 to 40 times that there's going to be a peace deal, but supposedly there's one. There is an agreement that there will be $300 billion be given to Iran for reconstruction and investments for Iran. Now, I'm assuming this comes from the American taxpayer, and I want to tell you that's a bunch of bullshit. This is a war that Americans did not support. As a matter of fact, we said no more foreign wars, and that's what we voted for in 2024. Well, Trump decided to bomb Iran and go to war against Iran on behalf of his good friend, Bibi Netanyahu, in Israel, and he's on record saying that he did this for Israel, while he claimed that it was to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. By the way, former DNI Tulsi Gabbard told Congress that Iran was nowhere close to having a nuclear weapon, and so did other nuclear regulatory agencies, said Iran was nowhere close to having a nuclear weapon, but Trump went ahead and bombed them anyway. Well, this cost Americans approximately $2 billion a day and depleted much of our weapons and ammunitions that we need for our country's defense. But let's add on to that. What else did it do? You know what it did? It drove the cost of gasoline that hurt the average American citizen, drove it to over $4.50 a gallon, drove diesel up close to $6 a gallon, and much higher prices if you live in states like California. So not only have Americans already paid the price at the pump, also including inflation went up. We've been paying $2 billion a day for Trump's war in Iran and Israel's war in Iran. And now we're getting told that we may have to pay an additional $300 billion to rebuild what Trump and Netanyahu decided to bomb. This is a bunch of bullshit.
Now, listen, it doesn't take an incredibly smart person to do a little research before you go posting videos on the internet And Marjorie Taylor Greene could have easily done this, but she's got her Jew blinders on, which is, consumes a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that's just like everything is about the Jews, okay? And, whatever the official medical diagnosis for that is, I don't know. But I don't know. But it's everything's Israel, everything's the Jews. And because of that, she declined to do her research and just went with her gut, is that this is about Israel. Now, we've had every indication that Donald Trump is not doing this for Israel. We've had every indication and every example to show that not only is he not doing it for Israel, but he and Bibi Netanyahu are not even on the same page when it comes to this. Bibi Netanyahu does not want peace with Israel. He does not want a peace deal. He wants to blow Israel off the map. It wants to blow Iran off the map, right? He does not want a peace deal with these people. But Donald Trump is doing that anyway because he's not working for Bibi Netanyahu. But to the point of the $300 billion, that would be shocking because that would be, what Obama did times a lot, right? That would be really bad to find out that we are going to pay Iran $300 billion. The problem is Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't take the 5 seconds to type in to even AI as to, are the American taxpayers going to be footing the bill for $300 billion to rebuild Iran? The answer is no. There's no indication of that. As a matter of fact, it has come out that the $300 billion number is going to be paid by the Gulf states, by Iran's neighbors. They have agreed that they're going to take their money to help build back Iran and their infrastructure that they need to survive. Not their nuclear facilities, not their nuclear program, but just their general energy infrastructure and the stuff that we blew up. It wasn't hard to look that up, but Marjorie Taylor Greene had to get on there and say, the Jews have got to spend $300 billion to Iran. It's completely made up. She might as well be a Democrat. I don't even know why she's pretending to be conservative at this point. It's getting quite embarrassing for you, ma'am. All right, here we go. 205-545-9950. Where was I at, Jumpbird? I forgot what I was doing.
Talking.
Yeah, I had people coming in here and talking to me.
Mm.
It was actually about the Alex Stein stuff. With him having a comedy club show next month. I had did I update you on what he said? What about maybe stopping by? Because he's gonna be. It's not gonna be necessarily, I guess, a promotion thing, because the earliest I could get him to come in studio would be on the following Monday after his show. So he would really just be coming in studio as a friend if he can move his flight an extra day. So we're trying to do that, but we may get him to at least call in on that Friday before and talk to him about whatever. But people that have been listening to the show a while know how hard we've been trying to get Stein on the radio. We've had him on the podcast, but y'all know the long road we've been on with that, and I think it's finally coming to a head.